Welcome to the Food and Beverage Purchasing Doc. My name is Dennis. Today we're going to talk a little bit about egg rolls. Believe it or not, it's an incredibly popular item across the board. I mean, every buffet and even in private parties, it's a great appetizer. And honestly, it just has pervaded through the market, both retail and food service, to an incredible level. Believe it or not, and I don't know that how many folks know this, but egg rolls are not Chinese. You can go to China and you'll never find an egg roll on a menu. Basically, where it came from was back in the 60s when the concept of Chinese restaurants really started taking off. Those operators needed a place to get rid of trims of cabbage and pork, etc. Okay, so what they did is they created the egg roll as a perfect place to not lose that product into waste. And they made it an appetizer, or they made it a garnish for a plate or whatever. But at least it wasn't going in the trash, and the customers absolutely loved it. Now, spring roll, by the way, it's very similar, but the difference basically is the wrap. The wrap is very fine, almost as fine as rice paper. The difference is basically, of course, that most of that is vegetable. You're not going to find as many with protein. Quite honestly, there's usually, instead of cabbage, they use like bamboo shoots. Okay, believe it or not, the city of Houston was named the egg roll capital of the world there for a while. Right now, I think Golden Tiger out of San Francisco, which was bought by Wilson Foods, huge conglomerate, is very strong part of the market and taking away a lot of the shine from Houston. But in Houston, you had Chung's Gourmet Foods, you had Amy's Egg Rolls, you had Min right now, which is probably the strongest product out there across both food service and retail. And what you're going to find is there's basically four types of egg rolls. There's the, quote, traditional Chinese egg roll. There's the Vietnamese egg roll. Both of those two really carry the market. There's a Philippine style product and also a Laos, I think you pronounce it, product, both of which are on the West Coast. And you'll find them predominantly on menus that are produced by locals that still are active in the market. But when you start talking about nationwide distribution by brand and so on, Bailey out of St. Louis is an extremely strong. Chung's is huge, both retail and food service. Min really is carrying the day. Vanna, which is a label used by Walmart, of course, is strong within their four walls. But what we're going to do today is talk a little bit about the ingredients. And I don't want to say that anything is bad, because it really isn't. It's just a matter of style. And just like we talked about in our sausage video, when you're going after a price point, you make some concessions on the way the product's built. Again, not bad, well, how's this? Let's just get into it. So when it comes to building an egg roll, just like we said in sausage, and first of all, thank you to Jim Sorelli for this little bit of education for me today. And most all this information has come from him. He really is the egg roll expert. Quite honestly, Jim took Chung's Gourmet Foods 20 years ago and got him into the retail market. And after a short 2 years or so, they were the #1 item in retail delis. So thank you, Jim. I appreciate it. Just like in sausage, when it comes to the ingredients, when you're trying to meet a price point, for instance, when schools are going out to contract, and egg rolls are a decent amount of popularity in the school systems, getting a product that doesn't have TVP is pretty difficult. TVP, as you know, is textured vegetable protein. That is one way to add bulk at an incredibly cheap way to do it. And when it's moist, it actually looks like meat. Okay, so it's one of the most popular ways to really get a lower end cost for those that are really price conscious. Matter of fact, they would use like ground chicken rather than chunk chicken in the context of shrimp egg rolls. Sometimes it's real shrimp, sometimes it's a surimi type product. The real shrimp, unfortunately, again, sometimes they're using 200 to 400 count, little tiny baby ones. But again, you get what you pay for. When you start moving up into the quality egg rolls, again, I hate to use quality versus not, but more natural ingredient egg rolls than the manipulated. Hopefully that's the right way to explain it. And you start paying a little more for the product. You're not going to find TVP. You're going to find, well, maybe you'll find a real chunk chicken. Some of the ones not all the way to the bottom, but in the middle will use a pressed product. Like when you go to the deli and you get sliced chicken breast, but it's a round tube. Well, as you know, that's chopped and formed. So that kind of breast meat can also find its way into the middle to lower end. Okay, as you know, in the past, I really do like finding information on the internet and creating a little document for you guys and gals to look at to kind of make a point. This, believe it or not, I went on the Ming website and found the ingredients that they have for their pork and vegetable egg roll. And what you can see, and again, nothing is bad. It's just a matter of how they get to where they think you want to be. And in this case, it's probably one of the most popular egg roll out there. But if you notice, the first ingredient is cabbage. The second ingredient is pork. Then you got carrots, and then TVP. So again, is any of this bad? No, not at all. But that's how they get to the price point that they get to. What I found looking at, this is a Vietnamese style. And one thing about Vietnamese style, you're going to find as you go down in the ingredients, you're going to find anchovy paste or fish sauce. If you knew what that really was, it's not the most appetizing thing to put in any food, to be real honest with you. Now, reality is it's safe and it tastes kind of good, but it is a stew, so to speak, that is pretty disgusting, to be real honest with you. So my personal opinion, I love the taste of mint, for instance, but I would rather find myself at the other end of a Chung's egg roll than I would mint. But if you notice, the first ingredient is pork. Then you got the cabbage, carrots, celery, sugar, onions, oil, etc. Okay, and that TBHQ, I looked that up. All that is a preservative. It's not a filler. Okay, now, as you could tell, if you look at the ingredients in any of these egg roll products, there's all kinds of chemicals and preservatives and so on. So I'm not trying to say this industry now is very clean and healthy. Okay, they taste good and they're cheap. That's about what the real reality is. Now, one thing about Chung's, if you notice, they do use a textured soy flour to add bulk, but it's like the 8th ingredient, not the 3rd ingredient, like everything else was with the Min product. So again, am I proposing that Chung's is the best product out there? No, it's a matter of what you find best for your particular situation. I guess today's lesson is, truthfully, read the label, read the ingredients, so at least you know what you're getting, okay? Now, it may not be the biggest item on your menu, or it may have some significance, I don't know. All I suggest is read the labels. Thank you. Well, I can't do an egg roll video without bragging about our friends over there at the Egg Roll Factory in Houston. They are slowly getting their product launched and finding their way into distributors throughout Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, and quite honestly, they're looking to get it nationwide. What they did is take a artistic license to the egg roll wrapper. Okay, it's not so much they're going after to build the same old traditional pork or shrimp or whatever. They're creating unique egg rolls. We just did a lunch at the South Texas Professional Golf Association's championship at Westwood Country Club, and we featured these guys out there. And their cheesecake egg roll, yes, cheesecake egg roll, is phenomenal. They have a sriracha chicken egg roll, which is amazing. And also coordination with Frenchies under the Frenchies label, they're making a boudin and cheese egg roll, which also is amazing. I've been in food service a lot of years. This concept is absolutely brilliant. I'm very, very excited about these guys. If you want more information about those products, I'm putting up a little flyer here, and our email address is on there. Just drop us a note. Now, please, nothing overseas. I'm sorry. This is a U.S. company. They're not shipping international yet. They're just shipping throughout the United States, continental United States, I might even add. So anybody who's interested, please, hopefully you're from the U.S. Okay. Well, listen, thank you. I think it's time to let's get personal. In this particular Let's Get Personal, it's about bragging rights. What I found was what added to the experience when my customers came in, and honestly, we didn't just do this in the context of private club. There's a huge difference of environment between the main dining room and whether they call it the grill or, what the ninth hole or whatever that casual middle market menu deal is in your club, or maybe that's exactly what you are as a restaurant. You're a middle market, check average, maybe, or excuse me, per person average, $9 to $13, something like that. You still should have the rights to brag. Everybody in the fine dining side of things really puts a lot of effort into training their staff to know the menus, to really know how these items are built. At lineups, the chefs go in detail on what the specials are and how they were prepared, and let's say in the context of a seafood, the origin and type of species, because that level of detail brings across a certain amount of professionalism to the people at the other end of that check. Well, so goes it even in middle market. So I tried to make sure that my staff, like for instance, when we had snapper on the menu, we told them what it was. Now, I don't know if you know, but in the seafood business, that word snapper gets really beat up and mutilated, like Pacific snapper. That's rockfish, okay? It's not a fancy deal, okay? They just make that name up. But there's times of the year when, truthfully, Caribbean snapper is really what's flowing. And I would make no bones about it. I'd pick up the phone, call my seafood guy, say, hey, that Caribbean snapper, where exactly is it coming from? And he'd tell me. And then that Friday night, my staff, before we go out to the floor and we have our little lineup, I say to everybody, now try to push the snapper tonight and make sure you tell your customers this is a Caribbean snapper caught off the coast of Costa Rica, and we fly it in fresh. Now, everybody on the planet does that, but who tells their customers? Not very many people. So, you middle management folks out there, don't hesitate to have your people brag about your menu. Look at all the work either your corporate office does or you do if you're an individual owner into building that menu, into being something special, whether it's the way you dress a hamburger or whatever. Just don't go under the assumption they're going to read the menu and get it. Emphasize it. Well, that's all you got for me today. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye now.